Hello, everyone. I'm Honoré LaBourdette, and I lead our global partner ecosystem for telco media and entertainment here at Red Hat. Welcome to our session today on enterprise edge use cases from a partner perspective. The role of partners in delivering the promised value of 5G is integral for enterprise edge use cases. At the foundation of success is the importance of an open ecosystem to develop, deliver, and deploy at the edge of the network. In this partner panel discussion, we'll explore the key considerations for success, the use cases that are already in deployment, and where our partners are discovering rapid adoption and the most significant opportunities. Joining me today are two industry thought leaders that are also part of Red Hat's ecosystem. Gibson Ang, who is the Vice President of Product Development from Casa Systems, and Bob Ghaffari, Vice President and General Manager, Enterprise and Cloud Networking Division. Welcome, Gibson and Bob. Appreciate you joining our panel.
It's great to be here.
Yep.
Thank you,
Hi.
Bob.
Thank you. It's great to be here too.
Thank you, Gibson. Appreciate it. So let's go into some of the questions, starting with this rapid market change around edge for enterprise. So Gibson, this question is for you. How is your approach to partnerships and ecosystem changing? Do you see on the horizon more multi-partner alliances in addition to the more traditional two-company alliances that we've seen in the past?
For Casa Systems, when we build a product, we are looking for a more multi-vendor approach. Because if you look at the whole ecosystem, putting it at the edge of the network requires us to put not only our software in there, but we do need to actually partner with the likes of Red Hat or Intel to provide security, to provide the CAS for our cloud native deployment. In addition to this, we also need to actually provide capabilities such as orchestration and the ability to actually fully orchestrate the system at the edge of the network, and other applications that will be driving edge based use cases such as VR, AR, video analytics, all of which, right, are part and parcel of the ecosystem being at the edge of the network.
Great, thank you. And Bob, what about Intel? What are you seeing on the horizon as it relates to partner alliances?
So definitely Intel has been very big on working with the ecosystem. When you look at what has happened in this industry over the last decade, from NFV network function virtualization to now where we're at in terms of delivering these 5G edge solutions, you have to do it with multiple partners. And that's really, the beauty about making sure that we got these robust ecosystems and we can sort of feed them in the right way to be able to really pull together the right solutions. And, and as we sort of see the edge evolving, as Gibson was sort of talking about, maybe things like AR, VR, I mean, there's so many other examples of what needs to happen on that edge. And with that, you need the ability to embrace multiple partners.
Understand. Thank you. So what do you think is different about these partnerships for edge solutions in addition to what you've pointed out? As you create ecosystems to deliver new use cases to customers, what do you see as some of those challenges and some of those fundamental differences? So, Bob?
Sure. So when we basically look at the solutions, I think the first thing is you're not going to have an edge if you don't have a network, right? And so in my mind, the edge, first begins with some kind of network, and then you need to sort of have the framework to be able to make sure that all the security aspects are there. And so when I sort of think about this not only means what you're doing within a particular area, let's say a manufacturing area as an example. So that, and the beauty about 5G and the inherent security capability that has, I think that's great. But then also when you think about how you build out that edge, the aspects of, what you do with that information, how you sort of secure that information, how you actually secure the things that are proprietary to the business, either their algorithms or their methodologies and things like that. And so the way the approach to the edge in a way needs to be sort of well thought through, and then have the ability to utilize the building blocks that make sense for that implementation.
Understand. Thank you. And Gibson, what about Casa Systems? I know that you're working on delivering an enterprise private 5G edge solution.
Mm.
As you create and work with ecosystems to deliver these new use cases to customers, what are you seeing that's different about the partnerships as it relates to actually going into a deployment?
Yeah, as we go into a deployment, one of the consideration that we have been looking at together with our partner and the service provider or enterprise cases are one of three things, right? Footprint. We need to make sure that the size of the solutions that we bring in are very optimum. The second one is about power consumption. So we have better utilization in terms of space, and in terms of power, and in terms of cooling. So these are the three aspects of what we are looking at. And as we start looking at partners as well, one of the key components that we are looking at is we need to have them to have the same philosophy as what we are looking at within Casa in the solutions that we bring in. The small footprint, better utilization in terms of vCPU, so that we can get better CapEx and then OpEx for both power as well as um, cooling, right? In terms of deployment. Now, as we also bring in, there are also other things that needs to be considered in terms of security that was mentioned by Bob. And then the other things that needs to be also considered is what are the other tools that we are, or the applications that can be brought into play. One of the key things that we have from a use cases standpoint is like mission critical push to talk services. So this would require us to provide low latency, anywhere below 10 milliseconds or even further below 5 milliseconds. And this will actually lead to new use cases that can be brought to the edge of the network, right? From mission critical to AR to video analytics, all of which are actually part and parcel, right, of the new ecosystems that we are actually bringing in with our partner, right, to the solutions at the enterprise edge.
Understand. And as you talk about this, capability and the footprint and the requirements that are required to
Mm.
successfully deploy these types of edge solutions, how broad or narrow would you say is your focus on particular industries in terms of vertical industries? Are you and Casa Systems taking a more horizontal approach or uh, a more narrow approach on particular vertical markets like healthcare or automotive
Right. So
manufacturing?
Right. So for Casa systems, we are taking both the horizontal and vertical, right? On the horizontal approach, our solution meets all requirements, right? Whether it's healthcare, whether it's port, um, enablement or mining enablement, down to hospital, or even a first responder, right? So the solutions that we bring in allows us to actually address all of those use cases. Now, for the vertical approach, we definitely have to look at different use cases, right? For first responder, one of the key component would be for mission critical push to talk services with drone support, therefore ultra reliable, low latency with high bandwidth in terms of EMBB, and the ability for one to actually allow more can to happen, especially with first responder type use cases. However, for manufacturing, a lot of the use cases that we are looking at is more video analytics, for which we are also running, let's say, for example, a robotic use cases where instead of human touch, all of this manufacturing environment are using robots to actually go into a clean room to take out a wafer, right, from the clean room and into the production line. All of these are now managed by, let's say, for example, private 5G solution together with AGV, which is the autonomous guided vehicle, where now you can also use that within the warehouse. So from this approach, we are taking a broad view, but within each broad view in the vertical market, then there will be a narrow view in terms of what applications that are suited directly with those type of verticals.
Thank you, Gibson. And Bob, could you share with us Intel's approach? Is it a broad approach, or how narrow is the focus on the industries and in particular vertical use cases?
Yeah, no, thanks. So when we think about how we approach our markets, I think there's definitely two aspects similar to what Gibson was talking about as well. So we definitely have a horizontal aspect. There's a lot of things that we do that needs to be, edge to cloud, multi-cloud, making sure that, there's this horizontal capability no matter, where that edge use case is. And in some cases, you have the ability to address it with better capabilities that provide you lower latent solutions, specifically for your use cases. In some cases, you may be in geos or geographies that don't necessarily have the ability to place the right kind of hardware, if you will, in those areas. And so you're going to need to sort of run in a different way. But fundamentally, there's a huge horizontal aspect of enabling the use cases in a way that I sort of think about this as the good, better, best. You need to be able to at least run in a good enough kind of way. And then, of course, you're going to be in these areas where there's better capabilities and you can take advantage of them and get the performance. At the same time, as we sort of see the evolution of 5G coming up, there's specific use cases and, either manufacturing use cases like Gibson was talking about or healthcare use cases. And then with them, we basically are able to supplement that with what we call these market ready kind of solutions. These are solutions that can sort of take from the horizontal capabilities that we have and then specifically have what we call these market ready solutions that are addressing specific vertical solutions, if you will, or requirements and use cases. And so a lot of this all revolves around open frameworks. And so sort of Gibson was sort of talking about the need to be able to somehow, do video capture and things like that. And so when you think about, for example, frameworks, of course, we're starting to see things like AI and machine learning and how you do this in an open way. And so for us, this is around frameworks like OpenVINO that helps with that capability of being able to sort of do, inferencing in a fast way and addressing whatever that use case is. And then, of course, using also the horizontal capabilities that are there.
Understand. Thank you. And what do you see as the biggest challenge in 5G and particularly 5G at the edge? And how is Intel addressing some of these challenges?
So I think, one of the biggest challenges right now is, being able to sort of enable people to sort of move faster. And so a lot of our focus is how do we really help with the right building blocks and making sure that these building blocks are well vetted, are able to sort of scale rather quickly, and are flexible, right? And so that flexibility, is really important. And we've sort of seen the power of open and the power of open platforms over the years, and being able to sort of have the capability to make sure that you can do things much faster without needing to spin up a new piece of hardware, right? And you can do this in a fashion that can meet the business needs rather quickly, I think is quite important. I think the other thing you sort of couple that with, all right, how do you sort of then couple the capabilities that are needed at the edge, and you do it in a modular fashion, if you will. So in some cases, you might have multiple pieces of hardware, depending on what that edge is, or it might be a more integrated kind of edge, if you will, from a hardware perspective, depending on what those requirements are. And having the ability to sort of, conform to that environment and doing this in a robust way and a agile way that is software defined and programmable, we find that that is really the kind of capabilities that are needed to address the kind of pain points that are there today.
Understand. Thank you. And Gibson, on the Casa system side, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing in 5G and 5G Edge, and how is Casa Systems addressing those challenges?
Right. So the 5G edge is actually a very broad term. So we define the edge as anywhere away from the data center that service provider generally have. So you have a couple of places, right, where the edge will be located. At a transport aggregation site where multiple radio sites can be connected, or down to the radio site, far edge, down to the radio site where the users, right, are, and you're delivering the services to them closest to where the users are attached to on the radio side. And then there's another aspect of it, which we talked about earlier, is down to the enterprise location, where the enterprise are in, and then moving it closer to where the enterprises or B2B type application would be in. Now, each and different edge solution does offer different challenges. Specifically, as you move closer to where the CRAN site is, the main challenge would be, like I mentioned, right, the space, the power, and the cooling. Especially in this age and time right now, energy cost is very high. And then the main important thing is how do you actually make sure that you have the right solution, right? Placed at the edge of the network. This will require, like I mentioned earlier, what Casa is focused on, the small footprint, the ability to actually have better dollar per bit, so that you can then place your solution directly at the edge of the network to deliver higher bandwidth and more efficient connectivity, right? And as you move directly towards the enterprise location, that edge itself now becomes an item, right, or an entity that needs to be managed and controlled by CIOs or managed by the operator remotely. So the ability to do that is one of the key challenges that we are helping, right, to provide a solution for. One of the key aspect would be how do I automatically spin up new CNF if one is required, right, at the enterprise edge for public or even for private applications to be used. And this could actually be then brought up when we start looking at different slices. Can I have different slices for uplink heavy type traffic or downlink heavy traffic versus ultra low reliability, right, type and latency type traffic, compared to, let's say, for example, the best effort type traffic. So as you actually create new application or new slices, right, towards the edge of the network, how easy it is um, um, would this enablement be occurring, right? Am I able to actually spin things up remotely if it's a managed service, or can I actually have, right, the ability for the CIO to actually allow this to occur in their environment, in their network? So these are the challenges, but some of the things that we are addressing with our solution, which allows us to actually fully automate the entire rollout of the edge-based application. And this will actually lead to less complexity because we're fully cloud native. And with cloud nativeness, it allows us to actually go directly at the edge using different type of server or different type of applications or different type of platform, right, for that means.
Mhm. And is there anything specific that partners should be doing or should be doing more of to accelerate the adoption of open 5G edge and to, assist companies like Casa System in this rapid deployment effort?
Yes, I think with the open 5G, one of the key aspect would be interoperability. The more we actually do the interoperability, it allows a quicker adoption in terms of what can be achieved, right? In terms of monetization, I think the key aspect would be how useful is the application, and then from a service provider perspective, how they can monetize, right, those services and be adopted as quickly as possible. But the main important thing is to have a single platform that you could run on, or a single common platform that is secure, that everyone can run on the system, right? And this is one of the key aspects when we start looking at the edge, right? What can we put at the edge, not only with CNF for connectivity, but also for applications, right, that we want to drive from an end-to-end basis.
And Bob, what about Intel? What is it from your perspective that partners should be doing or doing more of to accelerate the adoption of the open 5G edge?
Yeah, so I think the collaboration and working together, and of course, as Gibson said, where interoperability makes sense, and doing that, I think that I think that would be important. I think in general, it's just knowing that the business models have changed from a model of, let's say, a decade ago in terms of how solutions come to market. The partner landscape of how people need to work with each other is sort of changed, and so the ability to just embrace a new way of working, focusing on the goal, and the goal of enabling use cases, customers to go meet the kind of business objectives they have. And there's a reason why they're using 5G. It's solving business problems, and solving problems that is best addressed by 5G. And so how can we collectively work together to be able to go enable that and make them successful so they can go, meet their business objectives. They can, and then continuously be able to sort of invest as their businesses grow, and they're able to sort of better meet the new requirements that they have on these edge. And so I think it all comes down to just, being a little bit more flexible and open in how we engage, and just being a little bit more open to the fact that there's not these perfect clean boundaries sometimes, and how you sort of can make sure that a little bit of overlap or a little bit of extra communication will go a long way until you get to the point where the lines of demarcation, if you will, are better understood and identified.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Bob and Gibson. At Red Hat, we're leveraging what I'll describe as our pedigree in open source technology, open culture, open communication, to build out this global open ecosystem of partners who will collaborate and over communicate, as you said, with this open communications, in order to ensure customer success, because I think all of us working together in this manner as partners is going to be key to ensuring customer success as we move more towards these 5G and open 5G edge deployments. So on behalf of Red Hat, I would like to thank both of you, Bob and Gibson, for joining us today on the panel and providing us with your insights and thought leadership around open 5G edge, and what the industry really needs to consider as they move toward this new technology, emerging technology in these deployments. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us for this session.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.